Yes. No.
Good afternoon. Thanks for calling Humana. This is Janine. How can I help you?
Good afternoon, Janine. I wanted to ask you a question. I needed to see a specialist. I'm not sure exactly what the name of the specialist is, but maybe if I could explain to you the situation, you could kind of tell me which specific doctor I need to go to obtain a toxicology report. Um, I ate some lettuce, and it tasted exactly how the chemicals for rats smell. It tasted like a rat poison chemicals, and as soon as I ate it, I started feeling really sick. My body started feeling sick throughout my entire body. My entire body started feeling weak. I started feeling like immobilized, like I was gonna like have a stroke. Um, I need to see a specific doctor who could do like a toxicology report as soon as possible. Um, do you know which doctor I would have to go to?
I guess I'd have to look into that a little further for you. I can definitely try to do some research. Am I speaking with Omar?
Yes,
Okay. Um, so what I'm thinking is this, when was this that this happened?
2 days ago.
Okay. Did you seek any medical attention?
Right, correct.
You did go to a doctor or something?
Yes,
Okay. Was it like an ER or a regular doctor?
it was at the emergency room of the Good Samaritan Hospital in West Palm Beach.
Okay. All right. And did they take any blood or take any samples from you? Anything at all?
Yes, they did blood work. They also put me on an
Okay.
They put me on an IV.
Okay. Okay. Because I'm pretty sure that somewhere in there, did you explain to them? What did they say it was? I don't. If you don't, I mean, like, I'm just trying to get like some details so that I know what the next steps would be. Like, did they tell you to just follow up with the primary doctor after, or what did they say?
Well, that's the thing. I don't really want to give too much detail about it because while I was there, they were, they were playing a lot of mind games with me, and I don't want that to happen again. So I don't want to really give too many details. I want to see a specific specialist.
Doctor for that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So in that event, either way, with your Medicaid, you're going to need to have a referral from your primary doctor to see any specialist. So your primary doctor would be the one to point you in the right direction as far as where you can get this kind of service, to let you know what's the best way to go about, what you're thinking as far as, something you ate, you can explain what you explained to me. And they would be the best bet to get you in the right direction. And either way, you are going to be needing a referral from them to see that special doctor. So that's what I'm thinking in this event.
Okay. Do you think possibly we might be able to do like some kind of telehealth video appointment so I don't have to waste time? And
You mean with your doctor, with your primary doctor?
yeah,
Do you have a established primary doctor? Have you seen your primary recently?
his name is Dr. Nabil Saeed Kamel. He works at
Okay.
I think it's called Conviva or something like that.
Okay. But have you gone there, or have you seen them recently?
Well,
Anytime?
they're aware of the situation because I'm having to go to other specialists. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but this specific situation happened 2 days ago, and
Right.
yeah, as I stated, I don't want to really put too much information out there because it's being utilized in
Right.
in
No,
a
what I'm asking is, if you've been to this doc Conviva recently. That's what I'm asking. Have you been there recently?
In regards to this specific situation?
Well, yeah, what I'm asking is if you're currently being seen. So the reason I'm asking is because you want to know if they have a telehealth. So I would not know here if that doctor's office has a telehealth service or not. But if you are seen there regularly, meaning you do go there regularly, you're established there, then you can call them and see what your options are. That's what I was trying to get at. So, because I wouldn't know if they have telehealth or not from my end.
Okay. Yeah, because I want to get a second opinion from, somebody who's not going to be scared to tell me the truth, because I know what I ate, I know what my symptoms were, and, it seemed like, they were kind of scared to tell me the truth there at the hospital. I need to see a specialist who's not scared, because this is, it's a threat to human life, and it's very serious because it made me very sick. And, I need answers. I need accurate, factual answers, not people, talking in circles. And I don't need that kind of aggravation. This is not something that is considered to be what's the word? Tampered with. It's just something that needs to be addressed properly. Now, could you see what type of specialist specializes in these type of situations?
What I did was I went to Google and I put what doctor would you see for a toxicology report? And sorry, I had closed it before, so let me put this again. And I'm just going to read to you what it says, and then it didn't make sense to me, so that's why I veered away from that. It was saying something about a coroner's office, or an autopsy, and I'm like, that's not exactly what we're getting at here, so that's why I left that there. So it says, why would a doctor order a toxicology report? It says this test is often done in emergency medical situations, can be used to evaluate possible accidental or intentional overdose or poisoning, can help determine the cause of acute drug toxicity, monitor drug dependency, and determine the presence of substances in the body. So it says often in emergency medical situations. So I don't know if they considered that when you were at the ER or not.
Well, yeah, I'm sure.
But like I said, at the end of the day, your primary doctor is the one that's going to be. They're the ones that's taking care of your general overall health. So when you do go to the emergency room with whatever it may be, it's always advised to follow up with your primary doctor after so that they're aware of the situation. And if it means that you do need a specialist, they would be the ones to give you that referral, and they would go ahead and get you to the specialist that you need.
Yeah, that's the thing. I had quite a bit of delays with Conviva and their entire system. So I don't really agree with the process too much. So I wanted to work directly with Humana. That's why I called you guys to see if you could give me the name of a specialist for this type of situation, who for sure is within the network of Humana and accepts Medicaid, so I could speed up the process.
Right. Well, I mean,
because I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait too long.
The lab would be doing it. Who orders the toxicology report? I mean, your own primary doctor can probably order a toxicology report if it means that that's what was necessary. But what kind of doctor specifically works with that? I'm not showing anything here specifically. So I'm not too sure what to look for because it's not like a specialty or anything. It's a lab, something that's done in a lab, and the doctor needs to, set it up. They need to advise that that's what's needed. And at the end of the day, the primary doctor is where you get started with that. So, I mean, if it means you can't get in contact with them or you're having an issue getting an appointment and you need assistance with that, I would call. We can help you with that too. You can call during their business hours and we can try giving them a call and setting something up for you.
Yeah, because I don't want to wait too long, and then, I'll finally be able to go to a specific specialist who does the toxicology report properly and is able to give me the factual information, not,
right.
nonsense
Well,
information.
it's been 2 days now. So did you call your doctor at any point or anyone else?
No, to be honest with you, I haven't really been feeling good for the past couple of days. So I was getting
of
some
course.
rest, and
No, of course. No worries. I mean, if during business hours, of course, because it's 6 to 18 now, unless you think Conviva is open right now, give us a call and we can try, I guess, to give them a call if it means you're having a hard time getting set up. And if it means that after that we can't resolve it for you, we can always try to set you up with a case manager to assist you with your items. So
to assist me with my items, you said?
Well, yeah, with your appointments or, getting the specialists that you need. If there's anything specific, that you're having a hard time with, that's what care management would be assisting with.
There was this lady named Jennifer, I think. She would call me at the most awkward times. But I didn't really agree with her process of doing things. I didn't really like it at all. Is there maybe someone that you could assign to this type of situation through Humana's SIU department?
SIU?
The Special Investigations Unit?
Not too sure about that. I'm not aware of that. I can always ask for you. What is it that you're trying to get at with that? I'm sorry, with this, you want us to, I guess, advise our Special Investigations Unit about this situation? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because there's been several situations similar to this and of this stature that's been happening for several years, and I've had to contact the SIU at Humana to help me with this situation in similar situations. So it's necessary to have to go through that again.
Okay, give me a second. Let me ask about that for you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Sure. checking in with you. I am trying to get some answers here, so just want to let you know I'm still here, okay? Just give me a few more moments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm still waiting on some answers for you, so just want to let you know I'm still here, okay?
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. All right, Omar. Thanks so much for holding. So far, what I'm being told is that the SIU department is a department that reviews and
Say that one more time.
Sure. What I'm being told is that the SIU department, what they do is they review and investigate suspicious activity involving claims, members, agents, groups, facilities of fraudulent practices. You're calling asking for a specialist, and then we're referring you to your primary so they can get you that toxicology report. And then we ended up here. So because what they're telling me pretty much.
Because it's all relatively connected. That's what I was trying to explain to you, without having to say that specifically. Because it's already in the system, but I'm not sure if you could see that firsthand, or you'd have to go through them to be able to access that information. But it's all relatively connected.
So I'm not showing anything here within the last 2 days at least regarding anything of what you've been telling me. So yeah, it's kind of hard to understand because first you were just asking me for a specialist, and then now it's becoming a completely different issue, and you're asking for a unit that doesn't really involve anything with what you're telling me. So
okay,
you have to understand where
I could go somewhere else for help. Don't worry. Could you just refer me to a specialist within the network of Humana, who you know for a fact is still within the network of Humana and accepts Medicaid? I'll do it myself.
You mean a primary doctor?
A specialist who specializes in toxicology reports.
Right, which we already determined that we don't know what kind of specialist that is. Remember, I tried to Google some results for that, and I read to you what the results were. We never came to the conclusion that there's a specific specialist specifically for toxicology reports. So that's why I advise you that the primary doctor would be the one to order that test, because it's a test for you that you would go take to a lab and order, that they would put an order for you to have that test, and you would take it to a lab to get that test done. That's how that works. or if it meant that the primary doctor did not want to put that in, then the primary doctor would say who can specialize in that kind of thing. Because at least I tried to Google for you some results as far as I specifically put what doctor would you see for a toxicology report, and I read the results to you, and nowhere here do we have the name or type of specialist specifically for that.
Okay.
So you're asking me to give you a listing of a specialist that we don't know of. There's no name for that kind of specialist. There's nothing for that. Did you kind of get what I'm saying?
Well, you made some sense, but then you kind of but let me tell you something. No, I'm not worrying about Google. I'm trying to speed up the process because I don't want to wait too long, and then they tell me, oh, you waited too long for the toxicology report.
Right. That's why you should call your primary right away. So I'm pretty sure they're closed now. Do you think they're open now? I can try to call them for you if you think they're open. But if not, give us a call first thing in the morning and we'll give them a call and set something up for you.
I don't want to be set up. I want to resolve this situation as quick as possible.
And how would you like to resolve it?
Getting an accurate toxicology report.
Okay, and how would we get that order? We would need that order from a doctor, correct?
Not necessarily. Not in this situation, but trying to speed up the process.
In order for Medicaid to cover that kind of service, an order would definitely need to be put in. Okay. If you want to go ahead to a lab and do it like a self-pay, you could probably do that.
How much would that cost?
You'd have to check with the labs. Just go and see who's nearby, you know what I mean? It wouldn't matter if they're a network or not because you're going to be self-pay at that point if it means you're not going to get an order from a doctor.
Okay, so if I go to a 24-hour MD now, they'll be able to do that toxicology report accurately?
That's more like an urgent care. That's not necessarily a lab. Not all urgent cares have labs on site. So you'll want to go to, I don't know, I guess some of the ones that I can think off the top of my head that are major are like Quest.
Humana's calling me another. Humana's calling me another line. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Hello, this is Omar.
This is Humana's customer experience survey. Thank you for agreeing to provide feedback on your experience today. This survey takes only a few moments to complete. Please press 1 to begin the survey.
They called me on the other line to do a survey. They were going to ask me if, how do I...
This is Humana's customer experience survey. Thank you for agreeing to provide feedback on your experience today. This survey takes only a few moments to complete. Please press 1 to begin the survey.
Did you want to...
I don't have time for that. I'm trying to speed up this process as quick as possible. I don't have time for unnecessary questions.
Like I said, if you needed to go, you can go to a lab. And check with them in the morning, see if they offer that. Like I said, LabCorp and Quest are some of the major companies that come to mind that are, usually everywhere. So you could just Google, lab near me. And I guess call and see if they offer that first. And then if they do, just ask how much it is for the self-pay.
Okay. Are there any that are covered by Medicaid that are accurate?
The Medicaid would cover your services, but an order would need to be put in. So that's why we're getting right back to where we need a doctor to put an order for you. And then so regardless of the fact, even if you had a specialist that you wanted to see, Humana would not pay for you to see that specialist if you didn't have a referral from your primary doctor to see that specialist, because that's how Medicaid works. So either way, you're going right back to the primary doctor, either for a referral for the specialist or to see if they can go ahead and put an order for the doctor so that Humana can pay for it. Okay. Because if not, it would be like a self-pay service.
Okay, yeah, because Medicaid is really delaying the process of everything that I'm having to resolve in a timely manner. It's been going on for quite a while. Could I ask you if there's another service through Humana other than Medicaid, maybe that I might have to pay a little bit for every month, that I won't have to, go through that delay of process of having to go see a primary care physician before having to resolve these type of situations? Like, for example, being able to go to a specialist immediately, and then, for example, in this situation, getting an accurate toxicology report immediately.
Right. So we do have like a HMO and PPO plans that you can pay for, but whether or not they have that, I'm pretty sure they don't have that PCP type thing that Medicaid has, but they might have some kind of regulations, and I'm not too sure what those are because I only specialize with the Medicaid. So I'm not sure if maybe there's someone that I can get you to that can give you more information about that, as far as what they require, for services and stuff like that, referrals, authorizations, things like that. If you would be interested in that.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly appreciate it if you could provide me with that information.
Okay, let me find out for you. No problem.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'm just asking my lead to see if there's a number maybe, so I can give you to, and I guess they transfer you if I need to, regarding commercial plans, to see about enrollment. So I'm just waiting on a response from them.
Okay.
Okay, so no, that we don't have. Okay. I'm still waiting on a response. I'm so sorry.
I'm trying to Google the information myself, but for some reason it's taking long for the Google to open its search page with the search bar so I could type in the information to Google it. I don't know why it's taking so long all of a sudden.
Okay. Okay, I got it. Okay. So no, there isn't anything to get Humana individually. Apparently it's only, which is like through an employer, or through Medicare or Medicaid. That's how that works here. So they don't have anything individual. Not with Humana, at least.
Okay, so I'd have to change insurance companies entirely?
Well, I mean, if you were going to stick with Medicaid, Medicaid is like that across the board with other HMOs, with like Sunshine or United or whoever anyone has Medicaid with. They do need to go through their primary. It's a Medicaid thing. So if you're enrolled with Medicaid, pretty much it's going to be like that across the board. You can go to, like, if you wanted to purchase individual insurance, I believe it's, oh my gosh.
That sounds more of like a form of subliminal healthcare. It's kind of aggravating. I think I might have to try to find something.
That's where you would go for like options, affordable insurance and things like that. You can go there.
What's the best?
What they have available.
What's the best insurance? Is there like an insurance company that is equivalent or the same as, for example, government employees have?
I would not know. I wouldn't know what is actually like. Every plan, there's millions of plans out there, and different companies as well. So honestly, I would have no idea. I'm not educated enough on that.
Okay. Trying to Google the information myself, and it's the Google web page isn't loading all of a sudden.
Okay. Do you need anything else?
Trying to see here. Is there maybe a supervisor there I could speak with who might be a little more knowledgeable about this type of situation?
You mean knowledgeable about which insurance company is better?
Well, the entire situation, being that it's all relatively connected.
Hold on one second.
Says Safari could not open the page.
So you mean about the situation with your doctor and getting an order?
The entire situation, I'm trying to speed it up as quick as possible. It's really going to aggravate me if if this situation is not resolved as quick as possible, and then I'm finally able to, obtain
what
an accurate.
What are you expecting us to do on our side so I can take care of it for you?
Maybe, you know what would probably be better if you could transfer me to the SIU department. They could probably speed this up a little bit.
The SIU department is regarding fraud, though. I can't just send you there if there's no case of fraud here.
Okay. Let me ask you something. Has the Good Samaritan Hospital billed Humana for the hospital visit that I had the day before yesterday?
Yep, and everything. Well, no, this is for the 4th. So we don't have. Hold on. Okay, no, they haven't submitted the claims yet.
Okay, how long does it usually take for them to submit that claim?
They have up to a year to submit claims.
Okay. And more than likely they'll be submitting that claim within, a timely manner, right?
Well, that's up to their billing department. We don't know how their billing department works.
Okay, but eventually they'll be submitting that claim, right?
Of course, they have up to a year, like I said.
Okay. Could you go ahead and transfer me to the SIU department?
So like I explained to you, I can't just transfer you to a department that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. So like if there's no case of fraud here, I can't transfer you to the fraud department.
Well, as I stated to you, they were trying to cover up the situation yesterday at the Good Samaritan Hospital. And specifically the Dr. Patel Hina. She said that they don't have a test to test for pesticides in the blood or rat poisoning in the blood when someone goes to the hospital for food poisoning. And I specifically explained to her that's probably because, pesticides and things of that sort are commonly used in several, farms that have vegetables. And she said, yes, you're right. And she then walked outside, and there was a lady there speaking with her, and she said, he won, it's his. And then shortly after I left the hospital, as I was exiting the nurses area, before I exited the door to walk into the lobby of the emergency room, I asked the doctor, I said, are you okay? And she said yes. And then I continued walking towards the front door to exit the nurses area. And I took a look around before I exited, and 2 women approached her, and the doctor, she stated to them that I told him that I was okay, but I'm really not okay. And she said it very loud she made sure that I heard her. So when I walked out of the nurses area into the lobby of the emergency room, there was someone by the name of Director Hunter. He was standing directly in front of the door, and I brought that to his attention. And I said, you should go and check on her. And he said, okay. And he went inside and checked on her, and I exited the emergency room, and I left. It's a pretty serious situation, considering the nature of my hospital visit, being that it's a threat to human life.
Understood. Give me 1 second. Let me get a supervisor for you. 1 second.
Thank you so much.
From here?
Thank you.
Sure. Alicia, did you need me or your main?
No, you're perfectly all right. Yeah, you can disconnect.
Okay, I did explain everything to her, okay, Omar? And I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, Mr. Omar.
Yes, ma'am. How are you doing this evening?
Hi, I'm quite well, thank you. It's my understanding that you are asking about a toxicology, someone that can do a toxicology.
An accurate toxicology report. Trying to do that.
You had one done before?
Well, from my understanding, they did one. Well, they did blood work, from what they told me, at the Good Samaritan Hospital. But they were, speaking in subliminals. I really don't care for that too much. I need an accurate toxicology report.
Do you know for sure that they gave you a toxicology report?
Well, they
did a toxicology?
They withdrew my blood. They put my blood in several different vials. They tested for several different things. They didn't specifically say, Omar, this vial is for this vial is for this vial is for this vial is for this. They didn't say that. Then the individual who was withdrawing my blood, he was also speaking to me in subliminals. He was speaking broken English. There's a lot of, theatrical, subliminal acting in and outside of the room that I was in. And as I stated to the young lady I was just speaking with, the comment that the doctor made, I had to bring that to the attention of the director that was standing directly outside of the nurses area as I was exiting the emergency room. But the main thing that I'm trying to accomplish right now, as quick as possible, I'm trying to get an accurate toxicology report. An accurate toxicology report.
Okay. Just one moment.
Okay.
Just bear with me for just a moment.
Okay.
So you're not quite sure if they actually did one, but you do want one.
Well, from my understanding, when a hospital or a medical facility does blood work in 2022, they test for quite a bit of things, especially the chief complaint that the patient has. Considering, what was said, how it was said, and the actions of the people that were there at the hospital the entire time I was there, I'm almost certain they did one. It's just that they...
Do you have the paperwork that they gave you when you left the hospital?
I do.
Okay.
They also gave me the labels. They gave me a sheet of labels that they would use for the for several things there at the hospital in regards to my chief complaint.
Okay. Just one moment. Now, in order for you to have a medical toxicology, you will need a prior authorization from your primary care physician. They're going to need to submit that to us.
Yeah, the young lady who I was speaking with, who transferred me to you, she explained to me the policy. That's why I was trying to ask her if there's some way I could speed up the process, because I'd hate to have to waste even more time, which is going to delay this process even more, and have to for example have to utilize other resources. She mentioned, for example, once again, she mentioned what you just stated, in a similar sense, that to get in contact with my primary care physician as soon as possible,
Right.
So I asked her, if
That's
there's
a
a way.
requirement based upon the insurance that you have. That is a requirement.
Correct. Yeah, I understand that. She explained that to me. I asked her specifically if there is a way maybe to possibly do a telehealth appointment to kind of speed up that process, so I could immediately schedule something to see a specialist who can give me an accurate toxicology report.
Well,
And
if a
then,
doctor actually does telehealth, it depends upon the actual provider, because not all providers actually do telehealth appointment.
yeah, so I'm kind of working with the resources that I have right now. I have Medicaid. That's why I asked her if there's maybe another form of Humana services that I could, that could benefit me in this relatively connected situation in its entirety, that could help me resolve this as quick as possible. Because
Well, let me ask you this. Is there any way for you to see your primary care physician and explain to them your concerns, and then he can possibly put in an order for toxicology?
yes, definitely. My concern about that is, the process that I'm having to go through. It's kind of a delay, especially in situations like this where it has to be immediately resolved.
Correct.
Like, for example,
Right. And I understand that you want it done expeditiously.
yeah, only
But the
because
only problem with that is
only
either way,
only because
you're going to have to go.
only
You're
because
going to have to go
to a primary
through
care
your.
physician if I have Medicaid.
You will.
Yeah,
Correct.
if I have Medicaid. But the point I'm trying to make is, for example, my common sense tells me, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I didn't get my doctorates or my Juris doctorates or anything like that. But eventually I will. But my common sense told me, after being food poisoned, after eating lettuce from Publix, that it's very important for me to go to the hospital and get a toxicology report. Now I try to do that, but it was attempted to be covered up almost identically to every time I go to a hospital for things that are relatively connected to fraudulent situations like that. Now, specifically, I'm trying
name
to.
of a provider that falls under, that can possibly do your toxicology report, but nonetheless, you still will need to see your primary care physician.
Right. If I have Medicaid, yeah, I understand the policy. See, my concern is, me personally, I don't mind having to go to my primary care physician to resolve these type of situations. But the thing is, being that it's on a consistent basis attempted to be covered up by random strangers in just about every entity, municipality that's affiliated with these necessary places that are considered to be a resource to help people in these type of situations, that are considered to be a threat to human life. I'm concerned that, once again, if I would have to go through that process and time being delayed of having to, schedule an appointment with my primary care physician and, wait for an appointment that's available for them, and not so much, in my best interest being that I have to resolve this as quickly as possible. And then I'm finally able to see the primary care physician, and then we're finally able to, assign a specialist who could accurately give me an accurate toxicology report. Let me just finish. That, once I'll finally be able to see a specialist who can give me an accurate toxicology report, they might make another excuse, and they might be able to justify it by saying, it's been several days or it's been several weeks since this happened. The food poisoning and the pesticides and the rat poisoning is not showing up in your system.
Can you hear me okay?
So, I'm trying to avoid that from happening.
sir. Can
Yeah,
you hear me?
I could hear you. I just wanted to make sure I
So what I
clarified
want you
that.
to understand is this, is that if your primary care physician submits an authorization for a toxicology report, that's what has to be administered, is a toxicology report. If your primary care physician deems this to be an emergency, he can he can put in a high, the status of your authorization can be high, which means that the days that you're looking for an approval can be expedited.
Awesome. That'll be perfect.
So, right. So my suggestion to you, since you have to go to your primary care physician anyway, because you're going to have to go see your primary care physician to find out if a toxicology report is needed. Once they deem it a necessary report, then they're going to have to submit the authorization to us on your behalf.
Okay. Is there a possibility, which I'm trying to avoid this from happening, is there a possibility that they might try to, once again, being that they've been doing this on a consistent basis, as I stated, several strangers and several entities and municipalities that are affiliated with places that are considered to be resources to help people resolve these type of situations, is there a possibility, which I'm hoping there isn't, that they might try to say something like it's not necessary for him to get an accurate toxicology report or anything like that?
What type of relationship do you have with your primary care physician?
He speaks.
Because I don't see why the primary care physician would not see that in your best interest if he deems it medically necessary. Because, see, that's the key, is that that's the reasoning behind submitting a prior authorization, is that once the prior authorization is submitted, your provider, your primary care physician, will submit to us the clinicals that says that a toxicology report is necessary. And in those clinicals, it's going to say why it's necessary. That's how the approval actually gets started.
Okay.
That approval process.
Okay.
So to say whether or not your doctor submits a toxicology, once they submit the authorization, and then once you go find the specialist for the toxicology report, that they're going to do a different report other than the one that you've actually requested or the doctor has requested, I don't see that happening. Because the toxicology report, if your primary care physician, again, deems it medically necessary, then that's the type of report that is going to go to your doctor's office. Because either way, it's going to go back to your primary.
Okay. And then the patient themselves, being that it's their chief complaint to obtain that toxicology report because of a threat to human life that specifically happened to them and has been acknowledged that it's happened to several other people, is that considered to be medically necessary, being that the patient themselves...
I can't say that. I can't say that because I'm not clinically trained. But what I can say is this, is after your doctor does whatever examination he may need to do with you, and once your provider deems it necessary, because that information has to come from your provider, because your primary care physician is the one that's going to submit the clinicals along with the submission of the prior authorization. So if your primary care physician does not deem it necessary and cannot prove that it's medically necessary, no toxicology report will be done.
See, that's a loophole that needs to be avoided, especially for minorities and people in minority communities. So I'm gonna have to definitely address this situation to a higher authority.
Okay.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna document my attempt to try to resolve this situation, being that trying to do this as quickly as possible to try to avoid any further fraudulent cover-ups, especially being that it's all relatively connected to previous complaints that I've made to the SIU at the Humana. So what I'm going to...
with Special Investigation Unit in reference to this?
Yes.
I'm not sure how they will help you with that, but
Well,
Okay.
yeah, as I stated, it's all relatively connected to other fraudulent cover-ups of situations that I had to resolve. Um, the fact that a patient is at the least, you know, doing their best to try to resolve this situation, being that they're still not feeling well, being that they're still, you know, being forced into, you know, an oppressed circumstance, which is really hindering their ability to try to resolve this, and that entirely being a threat to human life and their life. Once this is addressed and brought to the attention of a higher authority, and they acknowledge that in its entirety, and then the individual continues to try to, you know, do what they originally were trying to do, which was, for example, obtain, you know, the best possible services through a healthcare provider or healthcare service. Um, once that happens, is that something that needs to be, you know, further documented or further, for example, well, I don't know what the proper word is, but is that something that needs to, you know, be pursued any further, or would that be resolved, being that, you know, all the necessary steps were, uh, uh, executed?
So let me ask you this. Have you called previously about a toxicology report? Is that what we're still talking about?
Well, I asked the young lady, for example, I asked the young lady who transferred me to you, if the hospital has billed Humana, and she said they have up to a year to bill them. And then I
Correct.
asked her, I asked her, so I'm assuming that they will eventually bill Humana, maybe within a
So let me
day's
ask
time
you this.
frame
What
or
was the date of
something.
service? What was the date of service?
It was 2 days ago.
2 days ago. Okay, so let me say this. As of right now, we do not have a claim.
Matter of fact, let me give you the exact date, because I've literally been in the bed not feeling well
Sure.
since that happened. Let me give you the exact date. Hold on 1 second. This specifically happened at 6:45 p.m. on Saturday. Today's Monday, so that
Right.
would
So
be
that would be
the 12th.
relatively early for us to actually see a claim. So
Okay.
I would say at least give it maybe a couple of weeks before you'll actually see it. But to the other young lady's point, that is accurate. They do have up to a year to file a claim. That is accurate information.
Okay. So this needs to be resolved. Yeah, this needs to be resolved
Right.
as soon as possible then, because, you know, that provides them a loophole. And considering that this is a tourist state, you know,
Are
there's
you saying that they did
quite a
not,
bit of loopholes
they
being.
did not do a service? So you're saying that that the hospital did not do a service. Is that correct? Or they didn't do the service that you wanted them to do?
Well, I went there specifically for a specific service that, you know, I trusted that they would have in my best interest, being that my chief complaint was food poisoning. And they, you know, subliminally, you know, and deceitfully and fraudulently tried to cover up the situation. As I stated to the young lady, I'm not sure if she explained it to you in detail what I said, but I'll reiterate and elaborate on it. For example, when I was there, Dr. Patel Hina, after they did the blood work and everything, they were, being very subliminally theatrical in and out of my room the entire time I was there, in the emergency waiting area as well as the inside.
Explain that to me a little bit more.
Yeah.
You're saying that he was... Okay, say that again.
Okay.
That they were in and out of your room and theatric?
Yeah, they were very subliminally theatrical, and it was very obvious that they were trying to cover up the situation, and they do this every single time I go to a hospital or I go to any kind of healthcare location for healthcare services. And I've explained this to the SIU department for years because it hasn't stopped. And I don't appreciate that at all. And I don't agree to any of that. Now, specifically, when I went to the hospital on the 12th, 2 days ago, I went there specifically because I was food poisoned. Now, when I went there, they did blood work, and the Dr. Patel Hina, entered the room after a young man withdrew my blood into several different vials, and he wasn't specific at all about making me aware of this vial is to test for this vial is to test for this vial is to test for this. He didn't do that, and I was.
You asked them what they were for?
Well, I was just sitting there quietly, hoping that they would have my best interest at hand, being that, I've reported this to the SIU department several different times, these type of situations, and their manner of conducting themselves from an ethical perspective. And so I was hoping, they would finally do the right thing, but once again, they didn't. And Dr. Patel Hina entered the room that I was in, and she said, "We don't have a test to test for pesticides in the blood or rat poison in the blood when someone goes to the hospital for food poisoning." And I specifically stated to her, well, that's possibly because, pesticides and things of that sort are very commonly used in just about every farm that grows vegetables. And she agreed. She said, yes, you're right. And when she exited the room, a lady approached her and said, "He won, it's his." And then shortly after I left the room that I was in...
I'm sorry, say what they said again. You said he what?
There was a lady that approached her and immediately said to her, "He won, it's his." And then shortly after, they provided me with my discharge documentation. I then left the room that I was in. I was walking through the nurses area before exiting the door of the nurses area to enter the lobby of the emergency room. And the doctor was standing in the nurses area, Dr. Patel Hina. And I asked her, I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "Yes." So I continued to walk towards the door of the nurses area to exit the nurses area. And I took a look around before I walked out, and two women approached Dr. Patel-Hina, and they started talking to her. And Dr. Patel-Hina said, I told him that I was okay, but I'm really not okay. And I found that very suspicious. So when I walked out of the nurses area into the emergency room, there was a gentleman there by the name of Director Hunter. And I brought that to his attention. And I said, you should go and check on her. And he said, okay. And he went inside the nurses area and checked on her. And I left. And, I've been trying to recover from this situation since then. And still haven't been feeling well. At least not as well as I was feeling before I ate that lettuce with the chemicals on it that tasted like rat poison chemicals. Now, the investigators that I contacted immediately after that happened, they said it could have possibly been pesticides. And they specifically advised me to obtain a toxicology report. So I called Poison Control, and Poison Control advised me to go to the hospital or go to an urgent care to obtain the toxicology report. So I called the ambulance, and they mentioned that there is a hospital nearby, and they mentioned that they specifically said, do we really have to bring you to the hospital? I said, well, it's very much so necessary. And as I was standing there speaking with them, literally in front of the West Palm Beach police station, I said, you know what, I'll walk there. So I walked to the Good Samaritan Hospital, and exactly what I just stated to you is exactly what just happened, is exactly what happened. And I'll even further, confirm that by saying to you, I swear by the penalty of perjury, everything I just told you is true and nothing but is the truth and nothing but the truth. Everything I just told you is the truth and nothing but the truth. I swear by the penalty of perjury that everything I just told you is the truth and nothing but the truth. Now, I'm trying to avoid any of these kind of situations happening to myself or anybody else ever again. So I'm trying to go about this, the most proper way possible.
Right.
Yes,
Let
ma'am.
me just say this. The most expeditious way for you to get this done is to get an authorization from your provider.
What is the word that you use? You said expeditious?
The most expeditious
What does that mean?
way for you to get this done. That means the most speedy way. You want to do it quickly.
Okay, yes.
Expeditious means quick.
Yes, I'd like to do it as quickly as possible.
Okay, so you're going to have to follow the process. In order for you to follow the process, that starts with you going to your provider, to your primary care physician that we have that's on your ID card. Go to that primary care physician, and you can explain to them everything that you've explained to me and the reasoning behind wanting a toxicology report. If everything is then documented and the doctor can deem it medically necessary, after all of which you've stated, then that's when they'll submit the authorization. But the authorization has to come from your primary care physician to us.
Okay. And do you know how long it takes for pesticides or rat poisoning to no longer be
as I stated,
in the blood?
I'm not clinically trained, so I really don't know. I've never been poisoned, so I can't relate to that. But I really don't know. That would be something that I would ask that if you contact your primary care physician on tomorrow, you should be able to ask the nurse they should be able to advise you of that as well. If you contact poison control, they should also be able to advise you of that, if in fact that is the case.
Yeah, and I found it very suspicious as well when I contacted the poison control number that's on Google. From what it looked like, it was the main poison control website. They had a list of every state listed there and a specific number for every state. They did the almost exact same thing they did at the hospital. And I found that very suspicious as well, being that, someone being poisoned is a threat to human life. And it's a federal matter. So I found that very suspicious. And I'm very happy that, that never happened to you. That's very good to know. Yes, ma'am. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, once again, try my best to try to resolve this as quickly as possible, and hoping that, it's acknowledged in its entirety that I'm trying to resolve this as quickly as possible in the best possible manner, considering the circumstances that I'm in.
Right. And then too, I'm not sure, I don't know your provider, but what I would think is that, just tell them that it's an emergency and maybe they can see you sooner than as if,
right.
It was just a checkup. So I would first contact the provider's office and see how quickly they can actually see you so that you can explain your circumstances.
Right.
As to why you feel that a toxicology report is needed. Because at the end result, it still has to come from your provider's office to us.
Okay. Yeah, that's why.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am. That's why I went to the emergency room initially.
Mm-hmm.
So I was.
Right.
Yeah, I knew that was very much so necessary. So I was trying to do that as quickly as possible. So, trying my best to do everything properly with the level of resources that I'm.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh, I understand. I
Yes.
definitely understand, but we just have to follow the the proper steps in order for you to get the authorization. I can't submit the authorization for you. That something has to come from your primary care physician, being that they have your medical records.
Okay.
And they'll have to provide us with clinical notes. Now, whether they're able to get the information from the hospital, the doctor's office may be able to get the information from the hospital to attach to their clinicals to send to us for a toxicology report. But it has to first start with your primary care physician.
Okay.
And then if you still have the notes that you had when you left the emergency room, and I know that they give you like a paper, and sometimes it tells you what they've actually done or what the next steps are, and you may want to take that to your provider as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Could I ask you another question? Is there a reason why they would give me an entire sheet of labels?
I don't know what the labels are for.
Well, the labels looked identical to labels that they would put on,
On vials?
possibly vials or...
They put on vials like for blood? That's
Correct.
when they're taking your blood?
Correct.
Maybe they printed off too many. That's merely a speculation. You would have to definitely ask them.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm trying to avoid any loopholes that they could possibly utilize in their defense. And what is obvious to me is, they're trying to utilize something called a desperate defense. So I'm trying to avoid that from happening any further because it's really, really causing a lot of unnecessary oppression and things of that sort. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take your advice specifically and call my primary care physician first thing in the morning. I think they open at about 8 or 9 o'clock or something like that. I'm going to call them first thing in the morning, and if they're not already aware of the situation, I'll explain the situation to them again and schedule an appointment and mention to them that the supervisor at Humana specifically stated that this situation could be expedited because it's an emergency. And
well, what expedites the let me just say this.
Okay.
What expedites the authorization is if they send it in to us urgently. If it's an urgent request,
Okay.
then that's what expedites it. And if they send it in as an urgent request for the prior authorization submission, then it could take 24 to 48 hours for you to receive a response. If they send it in as a standard authorization, then of course that's going to take just a little bit longer. But if the doctor, if you just want to explain to them the urgency behind it, and if the doctor then agrees, they can send the authorization to us as an urgent request.
Okay, so I'm going to make sure I mention that word for word, exactly what you said,
Okay.
and hopefully, this will resolve the situation as soon as possible. Do you think it's necessary for me to mention your name specifically, or should I just explain to him that I spoke with the supervisor at Humana?
You can just tell him that you spoke with the supervisor in the area, because if the doctor calls in or if he wants to submit, I'm not sure how he's going to submit the information over to us, but I can provide you with, let me see here, let me get the telephone number for the clinical intake team, just one moment. And you can also provide this to the doctor.
Okay.
Just bear with me for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when the doctor submits the authorization, they're going to, when they submit it, it actually goes to the clinical intake team. In that clinical intake team, they only speak to providers. So when the provider calls in, I can provide you with a telephone number for you to provide to the provider.
Okay.
Okay? And that telephone number for the clinical intake team, and again, this is something that you're going to provide to the doctor, and that number is 1-866
1-866
856
856
8974.
8974. 1-866 856 8974.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then if the doctor decides that he wants to fax it in instead, I can provide you a fax number.
Okay.
And that number is 813
813
321
321
7220.
7220. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so first thing in the morning,
Probably have to see you.
I'm going to call him.
Because they'll probably have to see you first before they submit the authorization.
Yeah. So I'm gonna explain to him exactly what you said. I'm gonna provide him with that information, as well as the necessity of, me verbally bringing it to his attention that, this is a matter of an urgent request, being necessary for him to go about doing it that way, being that it's it's an emergency. So hopefully that could resolve this as quickly as possible. To avoid any further aggravation, because I really don't like the fact that there's so many loopholes, and they try to utilize them so much. And they know people's conditions. For example, my condition, and they know the severity of my conditions. I have
Right.
brain injuries and so many different things, and they know from a medical perspective how to, target those kind of situations to, allow them to use loopholes in the future, to try to delay this process and, make an individual complaining about these type of threats to human life give up on pursuing them and trying to resolve them, being that, they're victims in these situations. And I really, really don't like that. I really don't like that at all. And I'm going to do everything in my power to try to resolve that. And I think, all the information that I need, you provided me with. So I'm going to, go to the next step, which is call my primary care physician first thing in the morning. And hopefully that'll resolve it. The other option that I know I could try to use as a resource is if I had, a different kind of insurance plan that didn't require for me to have to, go through the so many of these different processes to try to resolve it. I know there's something called like a HMO, PPO, the young lady was mentioning. And then there was like something called Medicare.
We don't sell individual insurance. So we wouldn't be able to offer you an individual policy if that's what you're asking. Now, when we think about Medicare, we can't offer you Medicare unless you're deemed Medicare eligible. You have to be eligible for Medicare. It's just not something that we can just give you.
Yeah, I don't really know too much about the Medicare or the Medicaid or the HMO or the PPOs. I don't really know the logistics of it and the details of it. All I know is what I've had to experience. You know what I mean? Being that, I'm in these unfortunate circumstances and I'm trying my best to get out of them because, it's really, really becoming like a competition between, several entities and municipalities that are affiliated with them directly and affiliated with their affiliates. And so I'm really trying to, distance myself from that situation.
If you have a different plan, that if you have a different insurance plan, that you wouldn't have to go still through your primary care physician. I can't say that, and neither should she, the person that transferred you to me, because every plan, there's still a direction that you have to follow. There's still a path that you have to go through in order to get authorization.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, I clearly understand why, there's been years of, all different kinds of, medical conditions and, people are having to be placed demographically and classified specific ways, and classism is having to be utilized to avoid, people that weren't, in these oppressed circumstances and involved in a lot of these unfortunate circumstances that people are victims of. And, there's reasons behind, doing those things because, at the end of the day, you have innocent people and then you have innocent victims, and it's just, a lot of unfortunate, unnecessary circumstances that could have been avoided, but it happened. So, people are in positions to try to minimize that from continuing to happen to, innocent people as well as innocent victims. So, there's a lot of demographic placement happening. There's it's happening all over the place. You've got edge cities and places like that where people are doing a lot of studies on these type of situations, for future reasons, and
Right.
that's understandable. But at the same time, when someone who's, for example, been involved in these type of situations, and doesn't agree with it, being that they're a victim of the situation and they're innocent, and they want to distance themselves from the situation, and they're having difficulties doing that because of several people who are benefiting from the fraudulent loopholes that they're able to benefit from. They structure several entities and municipalities in specific demographic areas where the people are demographically placed, to benefit themselves, opposed to,
Right, but I don't
benefit
know
the
if
actual
in your case
plan.
it has anything to do with where you actually live.
No, it actually
So,
does. It actually does. I mean, everything that I'm telling you, everything that I've ever told you is 100% true. And
right. Because I understand what you're saying. If you're talking about your plan and the fact that you have Medicaid, there's a lot of circumstances that actually surround you being in Medicaid, which is fine with me. But nonetheless, if we're still talking about the toxicology report, the only way for you to get this done is to see your primary care physician.
I understand that. We've established that. I was bringing the depth, the detailed elaboration of the situation to your attention, just to make sure I brought that to your attention and it's acknowledged. That specifically though, on a consistent basis for several years on end, happening over and over again, and me having to bring that to the attention of people who are in position, who have resources to try to resolve this situation and to resolve it in its entirety, is really, really something that I don't like, because it's not being resolved, and I'm witnessing it firsthand. You know what I mean? That the people that are in position to resolve it, they're gaining benefit for themselves by continuing to utilize loopholes in these situations and forcing people to remain in these oppressed circumstances. And I'm not going to be here forever. You know what I mean? People don't live forever. And
Correct.
Yeah, and they're utilizing that as a loophole. So I don't appreciate that. And so I'm going to have to go ahead and do what I said, which is bring that to the attention of a higher authority. But I just wanted to make sure that it's acknowledged that I've done everything possible to try to resolve it as quickly as possible, to try to avoid any kind of desperate defense by the people that are responsible for doing this. And so I'm going to go ahead and do exactly what we talked about, which is call the primary care physician first thing in the morning. And I'm going to go ahead and end this call now, because I've got roommates walking in and out of the room. I don't really need an entire I don't need an entire neighborhood in my business. Like I said, I don't need an entire neighborhood in my business. So we've established what needs to be done, and so I'm gonna go ahead and go to utilize the next steps first thing in the morning. And I'm going to go ahead and end this call, because I don't need an entire neighborhood in my business.
I hope you have a great night.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to. And if it persists, if the situation continues to persist, then I'm going to do exactly what I said.
Okay.
All right. But I appreciate your help.
Well, I want to thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. And again, I hope you have a wonderful evening. And I want to thank you for calling Humana.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You have a great night. Bye.
You're welcome. You do the same. Goodbye.